So that ends the mindful minute. Just a minute is all it takes for mindfulness, and just to be in the present, be in your body and in the moment. So as we get started here, I believe we are going to show the mindfulness video recording. So it's about 9 minutes, and feel free to ask questions in the chat. We have someone monitoring the chat, and we'll see how it goes. We can stop while we're watching the video. We can keep the video going for 9 minutes and do the chat. So we'll just have this an organic chat tonight, and we'll see how it goes. Andres, are you able to play the recording?
Hello, and welcome to Mercer Island District Fireside Chats. A little about me. My name is Simone Carmel. I'm a school psychologist here on Mercer Island. I've worked in the field of mental health and education for over 25 years, and I've been practicing mindfulness for many years. This week's chat topic is on mindfulness, and specifically, how to be mindful when things feel out of control. Being mindful isn't a mysterious way of being and doesn't mean you need to create a Zen space in your home where you can be alone and light a candle. Being mindful is actually simple, practical, and empowering. In this picture, it illustrates the difference between when your mind is full of thoughts about the past, the future, opinions, judgments, lists, the should-haves, could-haves, would-haves. I think you all get it. And when your mind is full of all of these thoughts, it separates you from the moment of being mindful of what is happening around you, who you are with, and really present. Who can relate to this picture? What comes up for you? Possibly, I need help. I can't do this anymore. Why won't anyone listen? Is anyone going to help me? When is this going to end? I need a vacation. These are all normal reactions. I mean, who wouldn't feel this way? So to be mindful, we become aware of what's happening in the moment, present to the moment, have compassion for ourselves in the moment, and accept the moment. Awareness. Start being curious about what fuels your emotions and behaviors, reactions. What are my triggers? Why am I having this reaction? Why do I react this way every time this person does this and everyone else doesn't react? Become aware of your nervous system and what's happening inside your nervous system. Like, do you get angry and want to blame others? Do you want to retreat and hide? Do you want to deny what is happening? Past experiences determine our emotional triggers and activate our nervous system. So what you see, your reaction, is only on the surface, the tip of the iceberg of what is being triggered internally. Remember, awareness is not about judgment. It's about understanding and having compassion for yourself. Presence clears the mind of thoughts, clutter. To be present is a choice to be in the moment. Breathe. We breathe all the time anyway. Become aware of it. The presence of your breath. Feel your body. If you're sitting, feel your bottom on the seat. Feel your feet on the floor. Look around. What's in your surroundings? Listen. What sounds do you hear? Notice what you're feeling. Self-compassion. Self-compassion calms the nervous system. You become more compassionate through positive self-talk. You're doing the best you can. I wish I hadn't have done that. I'll try better next time. Self-care, practicing mindfulness, eating well, going for walks, being kind to yourself. Forgiveness. Forgive yourself. Everyone's doing the best they can. We make mistakes. Forgive others. You know, forgiveness goes a long way of calming your nervous system. Hugs. Self-hug. A self-hug when no one else is around to give it to you is nurturing, calms the nervous system. Hug the people you love around you in your family. Tell them you love them. Use words of affirmation. And remember, everyone is doing their best. Acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean you're not going to have feelings, but that you accept what is happening in the moment rather than wanting to escape the situation. Going back to the picture, how would we apply acceptance? You would really confirm that this is hard. My kids don't listen, right? Not, I wish this wasn't happening. I need to get out of here. If only. When you accept the situation, you make a choice, or you can make a choice to change it. How practicing mindfulness will change your life? How do I know? Because it changed my life, right? All of a sudden you become more aware of your feelings and your thoughts. You're more responsive to those around you. You're able to regulate your emotions, and you notice that others around you are calmer. You have more compassion toward yourself and others, and you become kinder, and which, improves your relationships. All of these things improve your relationships with yourself, with your kids, with your partner, with your loved ones. You need to be regulated before you can model regulation. An example of, calm water, and when you drop a pebble into the water, right? You see the ripple effect? Well, that's your family. Everyone is a little pebble causing ripples in that water. You feel it. Everyone feels it. So managing your own emotions and behaviors teaches your children how to manage theirs. Demonstrate what it means to be human. We are messy. We're not perfect. We're complicated. Practicing mindfulness will change your world and the world of those around you. How do you bring mindfulness into the moment? You breathe. It's really simple, right? To just make the choice. Breathe deeply. Practice gratitude. Be grateful for the moment. See things that you're grateful for in the moment. Practice gratitude when you wake up, before you go to bed. Experience nature. Notice it from the inside of your house. Go out into it. Experience joy. Let joy fill your body, fill your heart when you are experiencing it. Really feel it. Experience presence, as we talked about earlier. Take mindful walks. Mindful meaning feel your feet on the ground. Notice nature around you. Notice the sounds. You can do all of these things by yourself or with others. Most important is to be kind to yourself. You're doing your best every moment. And remember, your kids, your partners, your loved ones are all doing their best. in this moment. I hope you found this useful and invite you all to join Thursday's Fireside Chat. Myself and others, my colleagues, will be joining it to answer any questions you may have about mindfulness during this time of being parents, teachers, and working.
So, thank you, Simone. It's amazing. And I think, there is a question in the chat about what time on Thursday. You're actually in the right chat today. This is the chat. So we're going to be talking about that. So what questions do you all have? We are in this uncharted territory where we're almost having to change our identities, if you will. We are working from home. We are homeschooling kids and working full time, and we are shifting, we're pivoting, we're changing, we're all of these things are happening. And as Simone talked about, and I want her to talk more about this, is the impact on the nervous system, which is a real thing. And so to bring awareness into that, and how we can work and manage through those things so that we can feel regulated to deal and manage all of these things that we are facing today. And so any questions you have, or situations that are going on, we're here to talk about those things. So Simone, I'll give the floor to you.
What? Great. I saw someone said something when that picture came up of the kids and playing and everyone running around, and they said, looks like they're having fun. I was like, that's great. That's a whole different way of looking at it. And I'm glad you brought that into the conversation, because it is an opportunity, as stressful as it is for some people, to reevaluate things, relationships, playfulness with your kids and playing with your kids. And it's just rich with opportunities. So we really didn't want to focus on the stress of it. I mean, for some of you, it may not be stressful. And mindfulness isn't about applying it only when you're stressed. I mean, you notice it more when you're stressed. I mean, when you practice it, then when something stressful happens, it's not that you don't have a reaction, but you have awareness, and then you can calm yourself down faster. So that's my experience.
Thank you, Simone. So there's a really great question. Such a great question is, we are in new times. We are being pushed to think differently. We're being pushed into change, whether we like it or not. And with that comes a lot of all or nothing thinking, or, really a hard time thinking through different kinds of decisions, really just not making a decision, quickly, because, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out, I'm just going to make this decision, things like that. And one of the questions was, I got to go back to it, see if I can get back to it. One of the questions was, okay, so hearing friends and neighbors considering making some big life decisions, such as pulling kids out of school because this just isn't working. And you're sitting at the table on Zoom calls and that's just, you have two kids, you know, one on each side of I mean, we're juggling. Picture somebody who's juggling, right? And it just is like, oh my gosh, I throw my hands up. And so the question is pulling the kids from school, pulling them out of school because it's not working. What advice would you give? And is it natural to be thinking in such extremes? And I think, Simone, I'll let my first answer to that question is, it is a natural thing to be thinking in extremes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. We want to solve this problem and make it better for everyone. So yeah, who wouldn't be thinking of extremes?
Mm-hmm.
There's this is uncharted territory, right? Because there's so much stress in the world. It's not just in your family. There's a lot of external stress, financial stress, then, decisions about your child's education. Like, it is huge. So, it's just being even aware of, like, this is really hard. I'm really stressed. That is true. This is hard. And give yourself some space with it. I have this great, I'm going to show this now. I just got it, but I don't know if you've seen this ball before. And it goes, when we're all stressed and tense, we can't, nothing's moving, we're not thinking. And then when you give it some space, like mindfulness, all of a sudden you're like, space to think, So even if you take a walk when you're feeling not sure what to do and what you're going to do with your kids, take a walk, think about it, pose some questions, even like, I'm not sure what to do. Like, give yourself space to come up with the best decision for your family in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And just trust yourself. So that's what I would say. What would you say?
I would say, we also have Karen Wilkie on our panel, and she is one of our school psychologists as well at Northwood Elementary. And I invite you, Karen, to chime in whenever you want. We love to hear what you have to say as well. So thank you for being here. And I just really, when we're talking about mindfulness today, really to think about the importance. So, like, yes, we are all going to think in extremes, and to give yourself space. And I really want to emphasize that, because it is critical. You have to so whether that's just a mindful minute that we did at the beginning of the session, and you do it once a day, that's enough. It gives you a little bit of time to be still and to, collect you.
I guess,
and
can I say one more?
Grounding.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just one more thing to that question, when just the picture of the iceberg, I always recommend not making decisions out of fear. So when you make decisions out of all those subconscious triggers, fear is a big one that really moves us to act. And just be aware, bring more awareness to it. Am I making decisions because I'm afraid? What am I afraid of? Why am I afraid of that? Are there other options? So be aware of those subconscious, underlying, deeper things going on. And that also helps with making clearer, more conscious decisions.
Mm-hmm. I would chime in on that too, because I think when we get stressed, we sort of get activated and feel fearful or defensive or reactive. And I mean, that's a protective factor. But if we sort of make decisions from that place, then we're making immediate defensive decisions. Whereas if you notice it and you take a breath and you can calm your system down, then you can activate the sort of thinking and reasoning part of your brain, which actually sort of goes offline when we're really scared or threatened or under stress. So taking mindful minute just sort of helps re-regulate to a place where we can make more thoughtful decisions.
Thank you, Karen. one of the questions is how to block out external factors, financial or everyday listening to more numbers added in you know, the COVID numbers. And, you know, we absolutely need to be informed. And there's a lot that circles around us. And, you know, one of the things to really think about is if that's something that's not working for you, and, you know, you're sharing that with us. And thank you so much for sharing. And really to think, if that's not working for you, you want to be informed, but maybe having the news on in the morning and at night is not something that will work for you. It definitely doesn't work for me. I like to be informed, but I can't have this buzzing around in order for me to be grounded. So that's something that that's a choice that I make. I have to figure out how I'm going to be informed, what that looks like in terms of frequency and having the news on, what I read, things like that. So Simone and Karen, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, having it comes to that choice, you know, make a choice what you want to fill your mind with. You know, that's the only thing we have control over. We don't have control over what's going on in the world, but we have control over our thinking, our feeling, and what we allow to enter our feeling and thinking. So that saying, relax, everything is out of control, you know, that's something to contemplate, because yeah, breathe and control what you can, because it's not much right now.
And, you know, one of the things, if you're being drawn to, you know, looking at all of these things, or if you do have a financial stressor, you're watching this today, you're with us today, there's an awareness around this, and you're interested in this today for a reason. And if you feel a stressor around finance, if you feel a stressor around, oh my gosh, these numbers keep rising, this is just so uncertain, okay, take that and then add something to it, a mindful minute. Add something to it, a mindful something to it, to kind of help shift that. That would be
It's hard not to see people's faces when we're talking, but there is like so much to say on this subject. It's so hard to just keep it really focused on mindfulness, because Karen is going to be doing a chat on the nervous system. There's so much involved right now, and we don't have the answers. You know, no one has the answers, but what we do have are just some strategies that can give some relief and help you just relax, help your system really let down and come down a bit. So
thank you.
It's complicated.
Yeah. It is. So there is a comment. I wonder if practicing mindfulness will actually get my kids to do what I'm asking of her. Schoolwork, less time on screen, chores, etc.
How old is the?
It does not.
7.
Oh.
Oh. I can see the chats a little.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things that we kind of want to make sure is that mindfulness is actually not a form of discipline or control, which is, you know, and sometimes we have to work with teachers around that, you know, that being mindful isn't going to suddenly sort of change everybody's behavior immediately. But being mindful, I mean, I'm not sure what school she goes to, but she may well have been exposed to mindfulness lessons at her elementary school already. And just pausing and taking a mindful minute, we talk to kids about how having it help them make better choices, so they actually get an opportunity to sort of be calm and quiet and think through. But in terms of actually making her do her schoolwork or things like that, I'm not sure that mindfulness is the only vehicle for that. I don't know what you guys, what you would think.
Well, something that comes up for me, and this is just speaking from my own personal experience as a parent, one of the things that Simone shared in her video recording was kind of that ripple effect. So, you know, when you drop a stone, a rock into the water, you see the ripple out. And if I'm in a heightened state, and I might know I'm in a heightened state just because I'm so stressed, I'll see it in my son also. So, yeah. And when I see it in my son, I know that I need to stop. I just need to take a break or a breather, whatever it means. So there is a lot of truth to that ripple out effect. And so, you know, just to really think about, like where am I at? You know, do I have my air mask on first? You know, you need your oxygen mask before you can really help the kids. You really have to care for yourself in order to be like in that best self position to really help your kids. You know, we're all navigating all of this newness. So just, that's what came to mind for me when I read that, is just sometimes.
I was thinking tagging on that. That I think the question was, I wonder if practicing mindfulness will actually get my kid to do something. And while it won't get your kid to do something, it might change your reaction to your child not doing it, which in turn can sort of bring down the level of anxiety and stress in the household, which is always a nice thing.
And then you naturally might see a shift in
exactly
what your child is doing. So there is a question here, is how to help my children when their classmates are not showing up to show school readiness or learning. Why should I think it's why me then? I think that's the question, is if my classmates aren't showing up.
Was that a student?
How to help my children when their classmates are not showing up.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So why should I? And I have, you know, there's a reason why the panel is here, because they were so passionate about mindfulness and the kind of psychology and a lot of things around this. And really, this is a time to help all people understand that there's more to the external. So more to like the kids who aren't showing up around. It's, why do you want to show up?
Right.
What's important for you? Where's that internal motivation, that internal peace? And it's really hard. That's really hard because the world is very external. So really getting at, why are you showing up? So my response to that would be to ask questions about why would you show up? What is the importance of you showing up?
And it also brings in that piece of compassion. You know, some families are really struggling and they can't get their kids on Zoom.
Yeah. Let me see. I think I'm behind on questions here. There's a suggestion around routine, schedule. A little change in routine might help children show up. And I'm going to talk about some of the themes, the topics for this
Yeah,
series.
because that's going to be coming up.
Yeah, so that might be of benefit for some. We have a great series coming up. And wow, what a leader. We have a student who calls her peers to say, hey, we've got a session coming up. We've got a leader there, so that's amazing. Okay, let's see. Okay, here we go. Therapists have said the opposite of what was just said. You can control what you think and feel. Therapists have said you can't control what you think and feel, just what you do. Ooh, I think we could get into some a little bit longer conversation here.
Sidebar chat.
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways to look at it.
Yeah.
There's, some people that say by changing what you think, it will help you change your behavior. And there are other people that say by changing what you do, it will help you change what you think. But, if you think about it, you're walking down the street and you see a big dog running at you. And if you think that that dog's going to attack you, you'll react in one way. And if your friend beside you goes, oh, doggy, and they want to go towards it, they'll react in a different way. So the behavior follows the perception and what you're thinking. So, I suppose it could go either way, but there is some validity to, what you think drives what you do or how you respond.
Mm-hmm. Let me go down a little bit more. Can you talk about the idea of reframing?
I'm not sure what she means by that.
So I'll wait for her to chime in, but I wonder if we can talk about how to reframe our thoughts.
Oh, I see. Well, we talked a little bit about that I talked a little bit about that in the presentation, that if you breathe, look around, orient yourself to the moment and be present in the moment, it reframes your thinking. So I know for some people, even just to get curious that you're not your thinking. Now, that's, for some people, that's going to be a challenge. And for others, everyone's at a different place in that understanding and awareness. But I think that's the first step for anyone, people on this chat, to just start being curious. What's happening? What am I thinking about all the time? Who am I when I'm not thinking? I don't want to get too, alternative here about it, but there's really something to be said when a person becomes aware of what you're thinking versus the present moment. And going back to that picture of being mindful, having your mind full of things, noticing what's happening in your brain versus what's happening in the moment. Noticing, like I said, your feet on the floor, your body in the chair, looking around, just looking at a tree for a little while and having feelings come up. All of a sudden, those thoughts go away, they dissipate. And I know Karen's probably going to talk about this, but the neuroscience behind it is that we've made all of these connections that now it's all unconscious. Our brain behavior is unconscious and our reactions are unconscious. So the first step is really understanding that you're not your thoughts, and then you get curious about your reactions. And then you start to reprogram how you react to things because you're more aware of it. I don't know if that's too complicated, but
I think it's it's helpful to understand. It brings awareness to it.
Yeah, like
So
just be aware and curious. And I know we're getting down to like the really like, how do I help my children? They're not listening to me. And we are going to address that with parents to look at ways through whoever is going to be talking about executive functioning. I know that the sites that you're building would love to talk to you about ways of supporting your students, your kids. I know I am. I'm at West Mercer. If any West Mercer parents are here, I know Karen is. To just really help support them in ways to be more engaged in the learning that is happening through the school district. I know that was a lot I just said. I apologize.
I was going to go back to the reframing question. Yeah. And I'm wondering if the question was about the reframe that you do when you see a situation and you interpret it one way, like, you know, this is just terrible. I can't believe we're stuck at home. And then you switch your thinking and you reframe it as, look at this. This is an opportunity that I have now to spend more time with my family, or, you know, I get to explore a hobby that I didn't have time for before. So reframing the situation in a way that spins it as more positive, or looking at the positive side of a negative situation. So I'm wondering if that may be what that probably is, yeah. About.
And I'm gonna take that and branch it a little bit in a different way. One of the things to think about as a reframe is when you're feeling these kinds of anxiety feelings, one of the strategies for mindfulness is to really lean into gratitude. And so thinking about that, anxiety and gratitude can't really live in the same space. So if you're feeling these senses of anxiety, like Karen said, you know, oh my gosh, everything is out of control. I'm really grateful for the time with my kids. So this is a time, we hear of mindfulness, we hear of gratitude, we hear of gratitude journals. We'll do that later. This is the time to incorporate that. This is the time to do that. And maybe it's just 3 things that you just write down in the morning. And if you're not at the point of writing it down, think about it. Take that mindful time to just think about 3 things you're grateful for. That will help to reframe. The other thing I wanted to go back to was around mindfulness and will this help get my child to do A, B, and C? And the one thing that I'll just share as an experience as a parent is I went into this, and as a teacher, I thought, you know what, and I have to share with you, I have a 3.5-year-old, okay, and that's important in this story. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna have a reading workbox and a math workbox and a social behavior workbox and a handwriting workbox, and I have all of them. I still have all of them. And I had this expectation that this education, 3.5 years old, okay, so think about how realistic this is. I thought, you know what, we're gonna manage this, we're gonna do this, he's gonna write his name, and that's not my reality. So really think about the expectations that you have in this particular uncharted situation, and give yourself some grace in that. Give yourself some grace in that you might have to pivot, and that's okay. And I wanted to take a minute to say that you are doing a great job. And that was part of the end of Simone's recording. You're doing a great job, and you're doing the best that you can. And I just want to say, you're doing a great job.
Love that question about, oh, sorry.
You go for it.
Just mindful movies. Is that further down?
Oh yeah, go. No, that's it.
How old is does it say how old the child is?
Mm-mm.
I think that was the same parent. It was
Middle school.
Oh, middle school. I'm going to think about that, and I'm going to get back to you on that, because there are some good ones. And I love movies, so I can't wait to answer that. So can I email you? I'll email that parent if that's okay. If Andres, maybe if you can get their email.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for asking so many great questions.
Mm-hmm.
Really appreciate everyone being here.
Are there any, Simone and Karen, do you have any comments as it relates to, you know, we were humans of connection, face-to-face connection, and we just don't have that right now. Do you have any thoughts? I mean, as it relates to that, that was one of the things right before the question about the movies.
Oh, face-to-face connection and
You know, our kids are just, our students are so used to being connected, you know, in the classroom and, you know, buzzing in the lunchroom and this and that, and we just don't have that.
I don't have an answer for that, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, really supporting them in their feelings is what I would say. And what we're talking about is, you know, when the parent, and I want everyone to know, I speak from experience. You know, I've been practicing this. I have 3 daughters. I was a single mom. So, you know, lots of opportunity. And I do know the more work, you know, the more present I am, the more space I have to give people, to let them have their feelings without me being uncomfortable, if that makes sense. So being with your kids when they're feeling really sad and really angry and really upset, you know, the whole, you know, spectrum of feeling. I mean, it's hard to be with anyone, right, when they're having a ton of feelings. But with your children, it's really hard when we can't fix it and make it better for them. So again, no, you know, quick fixes, except from a mindful approach is being present, so then you can give them space to have their feelings, is probably the best thing you can give them right now. That they could just be messy and upset, and it's okay. Those are my words of wisdom. I wish I had something else to say that this would make it better, but I don't, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Beth,
And I think, yeah.
I was gonna say, would it be okay if I shared a story really quick with?
Yeah.
I have a 9 and an 11-year-old, and we probably about 2 weeks ago had a similar thing. We had a meltdown. You know, my wife was struggling trying to get them engaged in school. You know, we were several weeks into the online learning at that point. This is in the Auburn School District. And, you know, I think kids all over the country are feeling this, and families are feeling this. It's not unique to our families on Mercer Island. And before hearing this, we did some of the things that you were suggesting. We took a moment. We grabbed I grabbed a bunch of construction sheets of paper, markers, crayons. I did take an iPad with me, and I gave them several options. And we went to a park, and I just said, you know what, write down everything that you're frustrated about, and just let it out there. I let them go a little bit away from me, so we were all separated by about 30 feet or so, but we could all see each other. It was at a park. We were staring at a lake, and it was just let it out there, you know. And you know, I know my bosses are on this, but I took a break from work as well and went with them and just said, you know what, I'm going to write down everything that I'm frustrated about. And my wife wrote down everything that she was frustrated about. And afterwards, we just stopped and said, okay, now we're going to take 5 minutes and we're going to write things that we're grateful for. And we ended it on a positive note, and it truly did help. And some of the suggestions and some things that you've shared today, I feel, that truly did help get some things out there. And honestly, we didn't do anything with the frustrations afterwards. I didn't try to problem solve it. I didn't try to come back and say, here's what I think we should do. I've got all the answers. It was just let it out there and share.
Beautiful. Well done, Andrews.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, I think the thing that I appreciate about that too was just respecting everybody's feelings about it and not trying to change them or make them. It's a situation where there's a writing in there. I cannot stand this. I miss school, and it's like yeah. I mean, that child is not alone in that feeling, and giving them an opportunity to express it in a healthy way is a wonderful idea. And I was thinking about your thing about social connections and missing the social connections. And I was thinking about it, I think for some people it's easier than others. Some people are sort of naturally maybe more introverted or natural hermits, and others are much more gregarious. And teenagers are sort of social beasts, but I think they also have this interesting way of communicating a lot of time by communicating on their phones, even if they're standing right next to each other. And I wonder if the thing that's the hardest about it is that they have no choice in the matter anymore. And I think for all of us, that's one of a really powerful struggle, is that it feels like choice is being taken away from us in terms of what we get to do with our lives. And that can be very frustrating, and does call on a lot of mindful strategies at times.
It does.
Thank you, Karen. And there was, I would say that fits very well with, what do I say when, my child says, or what should I do when my child says, I cannot stand this, I miss school. And it's just really to acknowledge it and not, we can't change it, but to acknowledge the feelings and being able to kind of sit with those feelings.
Yeah.
So here is Fred had said remote learning will end on June 19th, but we may or may not know what school will look like next fall. How do I prepare my child for the unknown? I have a high schooler, middle schooler, and one in elementary.
That's what we've been talking about, is being able to live in a space of uncertainty and really not wanting to move into the future. Like, okay, we don't know, like, what's happening now in this moment. Let's stay in the present moment, because we don't have control over what's happening in the future. How are you feeling about it? And really my experience is when people give themselves the opportunity and space to really feel the deeper feelings, it really helps move the frustration a bit. It gets it out of the way, because you're actually nurturing the deeper part of you that's afraid of the uncertainty, whatever else is happening for these kids. I mean, it's not easy, but acknowledging that it's hard and that sometimes we want to predict the future, but we can't. And what can we do in this moment?
I think we're all kind of going through a grief process, your kids included, and thinking about all the things that have sort of been lost, which is sort of our normal routines and our lifestyles and our ability to be with our friends and sometimes our families. It's a lot for kids to take in, and they don't have a lot of life experience in how to manage those kinds of feelings. So again, just sort of sitting with those feelings and agree and just meeting them, I think, and respecting them as being a challenging situation, is you can't change it really, but you can be there, and you can be, you know, we'll get through this together. You know, we may not know what it's going to look like, but you know, I think for kids, what they really want to know is things are going to be okay somehow, some way, and that you're going to sort of pave the way for them or protect them.
And I think that that's a good point, you know, what we're saying, but also it brings into part of the talk of you being okay with the uncertainty, right? So the adults, I'll be honest, when I was in a meeting recently and someone said, oh, we may not be going back in September. And I was like, ah! I really had to take a moment, because that was not in my consciousness that maybe we're not going back. I decided we were going back. That was my decision. And I really had to take a moment to allow myself to process that, you know? So then I was able to help other people, right? Who then were having a reaction to possibly not going back. I think it had to do with something the superintendent of schools said last week. So, but if I didn't take care of those feelings for myself, when someone else was having a reaction, oh, I would have been right on, you know, having the reaction with them, instead of having the space to say, yeah, it's hard not knowing. And yeah, I was hoping to go back too, rather than being reactive. So when we take care of our big feelings, then we're able to hold space for others, is what I'm trying to say.
Hi, Donna.
Hi, Beth. I just wanted to weigh in and clarify that Simone was talking about the state superintendent, not Mercer Island School District superintendent. And we are going to have school in the fall. I want to reassure everybody who's listening, there will be school. We are building those plans right now. What it's going to look like, that's the uncertainty. And I agree that's rough not to know. But I think we're learning lots, and we are going to have school for our students in the fall. So stay tuned for more, and lots of surveys that'll be coming out to parents and students to help us build the models and the plan for what fall will look like. But I just wanted to pop in and also say thank you to our presenters, our panelists tonight, for being here as staff members to support the community. This is our second Fireside Chat, and we talk frequently as a staff about what have been the silver linings that have come out of this crisis. And this way to reach out to our families has certainly been one that we've gotten a great response to. And so thank you to Beth for coming up for the original idea, and thank you to our two school psychologists for being here to talk about some really important things and some ways to support children and adults as well. I'm just going to put in my little plug for mindfulness. I'm a yoga practicer, so that is time for me to have that mindful moment at least every day. So I am a strong advocate for that for everyone. And the other piece, that some of the parenting questions that came in tonight, I am also a strong advocate for Love and Logic, which really centers you in who do you have power over, which is really only you. And I know that for myself as a parent, it was life-changing for me to be able to embrace the concepts around that. So I encourage any parents who are listening who are looking for some ways to support themselves in their parenting. Love and Logic's a great resource. So again, thank you all for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. And back to you, Beth.
Thank you. And we are just about at time. And so I just wanted to share that this is the beginning of this particular series. And so we will have a session on sensory processing, managing meltdown, stress response, and I'm hoping an executive function session. So be on the lookout for those dates and times. And I just wanted to share just one last thing, and that is, as it gets loud in my house, you're doing a great job. And I can't stress enough to just remind you that, you know, we might be the adult, but we still need to care for ourselves. So just be mindful of that and give yourself grace. So thank you so much for being here. This is so exciting and it's a great topic to share. I don't know if we talk about it enough. So thanks for being here. And I know we've gotten some email addresses, so we'll be in touch. And then, like I said, be on the lookout for some more dates. So thank you.
Thanks, Beth.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Simone. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Donna. It's awesome. Have a great night.